Okay, so this is a review. I'm able to get it up a little bit earlier than I usually am. So it starts off where it left off last week, and Hannah told Candace that that man was her father. So, but it turned out she was lying, just trying to make a point. And the guy, he just said, "I'm getting out of here." And Hannah was all like, "You do that," and she was telling Candace, I don't know who your father is, and you think about that the next time you lay up here with somebody, and well, I she's not even laying up with anybody, she's just robbing them. You know? And Candace is going off on Hannah. She's telling her, I know a whore when I see one, and all of that. And finally Benny, he just is going to try to drag Candace out of the hotel, and it's like, and Hannah's yelling like no, and I'm like, Benny, did you really think that was gonna work? Yeah, and she shoved him. Yeah, she shoved him when she got loose, and after all that broke out, Hannah's like, I wanna. How can you let these men come up in here and, and you do all that? And and Candace says some other stuff to her, and finally Hannah just lets the whole truth out about everything.
Speak, Hannah.
Yes, she told her speak, Hannah, and I'm like, oh, okay, so are you talking to a dog or something now? And it's like, but Hannah let out the whole entire truth, and all Candace could do was stand there and listen, and and when it was all done, Candace is like, I don't believe it. Although, she really did believe it, but she had to say something to try to cover. And finally, Hannah, after all that, she does this thing with her shoes, and Candace is all like, well, what is that, voodoo or something? And she says Matthew 10:4, and I looked up the verse. It's like anywhere where you're not welcome, you leave, and something, you shake the dust off your shoes. Yeah, so that was what that was about. Yeah, it's a verse, and it's like if you're somewhere where you're not welcome, a house or something, and just shake the dust off. Yeah.
Oh,
Um. Okay, and so we get to David, and he comes to the jail to see Jeffrey, and the desk cop is like, okay, well, he's not an inmate, he can't receive visitor or something. Yeah, 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 and and then David says, I'm his attorney, and he's like, well, wait a minute, I need to call the DA because the DA doesn't needs to know if there are visitors, and he calls the DA. Nobody answers. He says, I'll call back in a few minutes. And David has a seat, and there's this woman he sits next to. Well, um, she says something. They say my somebody, I guess it was, shot somebody. And
yeah, but he didn't.
didn't it?
She
And
said,
so
'cause
I did, or something. And then David tells her, well, I'm not practicing anymore. I'm a judge. And she said, that's the BS right there. And so Jim, we get to him, and he calls up this woman from the DA's office, the DA's assistant, and he's trying to get her to do what he wants, and he's got some stuff on her. That's apparent. He didn't actually say what it was. But he has some stuff on her, and she doesn't want to do what he wants her to do, but it looks like she'll probably end up doing what he wants her to do, and that's probably like mess up the case and stuff against him. And so
trying to get that money.
oh yeah, he probably wants the money. And so so Hannah gets back to her house, and she sees that the guy that built the house, she sees that he washed the dishes. And so, but Benny sees the note and he's like, Derek. He's like, who? He's kind of like, well, who is that? And I'm like, Benny, you need to be quiet because considering what you're trying to get into and who you're trying to associate with, you need to be quiet about anything. And so Hannah calls, but okay, the guy's name is Derek. She calls him and she thanks him for washing the dishes and stuff. And then he asks her out for coffee, and she's, "Are you asking me out on a date?" And she was just really, she got evil about it.
She's
Well,
really
well,
rude.
and he says, "Well, in case you change your mind, I won't change my mind." And she she was real rude about it. And then it turns out, well, he was still at Catherine's house, and Catherine was in the corner listening, and I said, I don't know why he wants to bother with Anna. If she's gonna be evil like that, just leave her alone.
I know, I know.
Okay, and so Benny gets a call from Veronica, and she's like, "Oh, well, you saved my life. I owe you, blah blah blah, all this," and he needs to leave her alone because she'll flip that around and have him owing her something. She's scheming and up to something, and but in the preview, Mitch tells him, "Well, you need to hit her up for that money for that truck instead of trying to get it from my family." What she should do that because the Malones are crazy, and he probably have a better chance of trying to get the money from Veronica than them. Um, and so we get back to Candace, and she's worse than ever now because she's called this girl up from the bar, from last week, the girl that was in the bar, and the girl introduces herself. "Hi, I'm Gina," and she said, "No, bottom bitch." And the girl's like, "What are you talking about?" And she's trying to act like she's not an escort when clearly she is. And Candace is telling her about, you gonna, I'll protection. I'm gonna give you protection, and which means, she can get protection money. Candace can get protection money from her, and so Candace rips her dress, and she turns her around, and she's like, "Okay, you got nice everything," and the girl's like, "You ruined my dress," and Candace says, "Well, no, you ruined it when you bought it from the dollar store." She tells her, "Call Erica. She'll get you some clothes." She wants her to unlock her phone, and she doesn't want to do it, so Candace slaps her, and that makes her unlock the phone. And she puts all her details into the phone, and she says, "Well, I texted myself from your phone, so I'll have your number and I'll call you." She tells her desperation leads to arrest, and she says she'll call her up and tell her all about that. So, Hannah just made Candace even worse now. She's even more vicious, and so now so David, he's still at the jail waiting. The DA has not answered or responded.
Stayed there all night?
Yeah, he stayed there all night, and so he calls Jim, and Jim just says, "Okay, well, Catherine's father, his name still works in the town, so you go ahead and call her." So David calls Catherine, and the first thing she says is like, "I'm not doing a damn thing for Jim," and David, no, it's Jeffrey. Veronica had him put in jail, and she's willing to help him with that. And then she brings up the accident. She said if that accident had been any worse, it would have done us all a favor. And he's like, "What accident?" And Catherine says she was in a car accident, and David wants to know how she is, and Catherine's like, I don't know, bye. And so we get to the last scene is with Crazy, who is Justin, and he takes Jeffrey out the cell once again, And the prisoners last week were already hooting and hollering about it, and so he takes him to the interrogation room again, and he's angry about why look at this. Why is he calling you so many times? That's 7 missed calls. Why is he calling you? And Wyatt is calling right then, and Justin answers the phone, and he he in Jeffrey says, "Well, I can't talk right now to Wyatt," and he said, "Then why did you answer the phone?" And and he calls Justin crazy or whatever, and then well, I'm in here, and and he wants to know, or are you his lover? And then Wyatt is just instigating and says, yes, I am. And I'm like, why are you doing that? And then Justin wants to come over to Wyatt's house, and Wyatt's like, go ahead and come over here. And then when they get off the phone, Justin starts talking about Jeffrey's emails, and he journals, and to Justin it looked like they were like journals to himself, and it looked like something else. And he's really angry and delusional. He's telling me, I'm out there looking for an apartment for us. And I'm like, okay, so you've lost it. You're not playing with the full deck at all.
Jeffrey, turn him out. He didn't make that man.
Yeah, and he just went crazy, and he starts choking Jeffrey, and it looks like Jeffrey's about to pass out, and that's where it goes off. So that was the show. Next week, like I said, Mitch is going to be telling Benny, hit Veronica up for that money. And then we see Benny, I guess he's at Veronica's house trying to get her some things, and then Melissa's trying to come on to him. So we'll see where that goes. So that was the review. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you the next time.